The secret protocol for when the Queen dies. Queen Elizabeth II is now 95 years old, and we're not saying we're waiting for her to die, but if she did, we wouldn't exactly be surprised. However, the Queen is also the sovereign of an entire kingdom. That's why there's actually a secret protocol to be followed when the Queen actually dies, and in this video, we'll be taking a look at what that is. The official codename for this protocol is called London Bridge is Down. The moment the news of Queen Elizabeth's death is heard by her private secretary, they will contact the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom by saying that exact phrase, "London Bridge is down!" Aside from the Prime Minister, the private secretary will also relay the information down to the Prime Minister's cabinet secretary, and these will be the first people to learn of the Queen's death. It will now be the cabinet secretary's job to inform all senior civil servants of the news. From then, the British Foreign Office will inform the heads of government of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and any other nation that Queen Elizabeth is the Queen of, about her death. Following that, all 54 members of the Commonwealth of Nations, a selection of countries that were formerly part of the British Empire, would be notified as well. Before the news even reaches the public, all official logos on any government department will turn black. Finally, the royal family would make an announcement via BBC News and PA Media saying that the Queen has officially passed. During this time, many of BBC's subsidiary channels will switch to the main feed of BBC One, where the death would be officially announced.
It is the hope of many that the legacy of this summit, written in history books yet to be printed, will describe you as the leaders who did not pass up the opportunity, and that you answered the call of those future generations.
BBC News will already have pre-recorded a montage and tribute to the Queen's life, which would be played shortly after the announcement. Many of the top broadcasters in the UK have already been preparing for such an incident to happen. Many of them have a closet filled with dark clothing that the presenters would wear in the wake of her death, and the statements that the presenters would make have already been rehearsed for the most part. A notice of her death would be placed on the gates of the Buckingham Palace, and a digital version of that notice would also be put on all official royal websites. All of the flags of the United Kingdom, the Queen's realm, and the Commonwealth of Nations would fly half-mast, along with the flags of many allied nations. On that day, the Prime Minister will give a speech at the House of Commons, where they would remember the Queen. Shortly after the Prime Minister's speech, the expected future monarch of the kingdom, Prince Charles, would deliver a speech at the House of Commons at exactly 6 p.m. Following the two speeches, a service of remembrance would be held at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, which would be attended by members of the royal family and the Prime Minister, along with his top aides. The day will end off with gun salutes at saluting stations all across the United Kingdom. The following day, a meeting would be held at the St. James Palace, the senior most royal palace in the UK, where the Accession Council would formally proclaim Prince Charles as the new King of the United Kingdom. All parliamentarians would then pledge allegiance to the new king, and the Scottish, Northern Irish, and Welsh Parliament would soon follow suit. There are also a lot of arrangements for the Queen's death, depending on where she would die. If it happened overseas, her body would immediately be taken on the number 32 Royal Squadron jet to the RAF Northolt base in London, from where her body would be taken on a hearse to Buckingham Palace. If she died in Windsor Castle or Sandringham House, her body would be taken on the royal train to the St. Pancras railway station in London, where the Prime Minister would be waiting for her. If she died in Scotland, her body would stay in Holyrood Palace for a day, before she would be taken to Buckingham Palace via royal train. After being kept in Buckingham Palace's throne room for 5 days, her body would be moved to Westminster Hall, where it would lie in state for 3 days. The state funeral for the Queen would be held 10 days after her death, and it's believed that almost every head of state government in the world would either personally be present at the funeral, or they would send their closest aide in their place. A national day of mourning would be declared, and the Queen would finally be buried next to her father, King George VI. That's a wrap for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. See you in the next one.